So my name is Jenna, and my last name is Smith. I've been a police officer for 22 years. Prior to that, I was a counselor. And my plan when I retire next year is to combine my counseling experience with my policing and my love of working with horses. So that's what I want to do. Well, it's evolved over the last few years. When I started, it was tough because I came into policing not really knowing much about the background, the culture, and I had been in this great culture of counseling where people were supportive and they expressed their feelings and they acknowledged your feelings, and then it was like landing in a bucket of cold water. It was just going into policing was tough because I realized that my expectations of people had to really change because a lot of the guys in there didn't do feelings and the women didn't do feelings, and I also went in and I was out. By that point in my life I was out as a lesbian, and to me it wasn't a big deal. That was 22 years ago, and it wasn't a big deal in my mind, but it was a huge deal where I went to work, and I got some nasty stuff in my mailbox, and so there were those kinds of pressures. I think I was I am vegetarian, and I think that was a big deal even, you're just like a freak show, right? You're showing up here, you're a lesbian, you're feminist, and you're a vegetarian. So what are we gonna do with you? So it was tough. It was tough to try to fit in. The thing I really liked about policing back then was that people had really good sense of humor and they had a lot of fun. And we had fun. We did have lots of fun. We goofed around, we played, we worked hard. But there was a culture where the people were funny. The people I just loved, their sense of humor. And as I've watched things change in policing, as the outside got, more and more critical of policing and the media got more and more critical, I see police now just kind of doing this, turtling in and just protecting themselves from the criticism. So there's a lot less fun. It feels like people are a lot less joyful, and I think a lot more scared of what could happen. Mm-hmm. How can I be hung out to dry? Third-party complaints. Anyone can complain about you. They don't have to have seen anything or heard anything. They just decide they're going to complain about you, and they've heard about something. So the complaint comes in, and you're immediately under investigation. And so policing has become a place where people are much more concerned about not just doing the job, but who's what. And plus, everyone's videotaping you, and especially where I work, where there's cameras everywhere. There's people videotaping you. You can't do something without people putting a camera in your face and challenging you about what you're doing. Yeah, I wish I had known about horses a long time ago. There's some terrible scenes that I had to go to and go through, and there wasn't really any kind of way to have people help you through that. It got better as the years went on, but I can think of recently there were some incidents where once I started volunteering, there were some incidents that I dealt with at work, and I would go to the horses that I was caring for. I would feed them dinner and hang out and just groom on them and touch them and just feel that release of energy come out of me and absorb their calming energy. So just being around them, I felt so much better. Yeah. I ran down to the water, and sure enough, he was in the water. There was a guy, one of our officers, trying to talk to him, and he was in the water, and he was consciously trying to drown himself. And I was calling to him, and I really couldn't believe, I was in disbelief that he was actually doing that. I just thought, no, he'll come back. And he kept going back further out, to the point where it was deep and really cold. So I went down, I was trying to call him in, and he wouldn't come in, and then he just kept going further down, longer and longer and longer, and then he just stayed down. And so I dropped my gear, took my belt off, took everything off, and got a rope and got a life jacket and a ring and a stick, and I just went in, tried to find him. And I'd gone in initially and realized, oh God, it's cold here and it's deep, and my heart slowed down and stuff. So I backed out, got my life jacket, went in, tried to find him, because he'd only been down there a couple of minutes by then, and just thought, sure, maybe I can find him and bring him back, but couldn't do that. So instead of going straight home, actually, I just went straight to the horses. I didn't even have to feed them, I just went straight to them. And I could feel myself vibrating with this energy of shock, and I went up and I was touching this horse who's usually, he's young and he's not really tuned into stuff, but he was just shaking his head. As I was grooming him, just putting my hands on him, he was just shaking it off. And I could feel he was there. He wasn't running away from me, but he was just trying to release the energy as well. And then I hung out with Valentine, and I just spent an hour, just hung out with her, sat down in her stall and just stayed with her, and felt myself finally come back into a calmer place. So having the experience of talking about something with someone who is skilled at doing this facilitation, and having the experience of spending time with a horse or 4 horses and feeling something change in me, where this tension or this anger or some bad memory has been able to resolve itself, and I let it go. And so horses can give first responders a sense of calmness and an ability to work through trauma that you can tell a horse anything. You can tell a horse so much more than you'd ever talk to a counselor about. And we did this exercise the other day. One of the things we were doing in one of my training is you're walking your horse and you're telling the horse out loud all the reasons why you think you can't do something. And so you're just letting it fly, because no one's listening to you. Your horse doesn't care. He's walking along beside you, And you can just feel the comfort of the horse. And then the next thing is you go another direction and you say all the amazing things that you can do. And so the horses walk along. And if they don't believe you, that's that thing with horses. You have to be congruent. So if you ask me how you doing, and I go, I'm great, and I'm not great, the horses are not going to buy that. They're just like, you're not safe because you're not congruent. Whatever you're telling me is not true, because I can tell from whatever your energy you're giving off. So with first responders, the need to be real and to be congruent, you have to be that way to be with the horse. So you can't pretend it, you can't fake it, and that's, I think, a lot of what we do, is we walk around pretending we're okay, we're fine, and you just can't do that. You have to be real with the horse, you have to be authentic. So I think they're really helpful for first responders to work through and not pretend that they're okay.
Mm-hmm.